Everybody, happy Thursday to all of you out there, and thanks for watching the Draw Along show today. This is the second episode of the week, and today's episode is a full hour long, which is unusual. Usually the show is about 25-26 minutes long, but today we've got about an hour to play together, so I thought we'd do a few extra activities and cram them all in here for a special, extra long, extra fun episode of the Draw Along show. Now, if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Twitter, please remember that I'm only following the chat at be.net/live. That's at Behance. So on Behance, I'm able to see the chat, I'm able to see what's going on. And that's where I'm going to be answering questions. And it's also where I'm going to be getting your suggestions for things like the animal and activity game at the end of the show. As well as today, we're playing another little doodle game, which we haven't done in a long time. We're going to have 2 doodles for you to sort out and tell me what you see in those doodles, and I will quickly make some art out of those. Today we're also going to have an art tip for you, and then we're going to have an art vocabulary, art vocab segment as well. So lots going on, but we're going to kick it off as usual with a You Draw It, where you follow along with me step by step to draw something simple, something fun, and something that you could repeat back and draw on your own anytime you like, with very simple shapes. Okay. We live actually close to a golf course. I'm in North Carolina, and there are golf courses everywhere you look. And I noticed that the golfers out there were always wearing 2 pairs of pants. And I was asking myself, why do golfers wear 2 pairs of pants? Well, it's in case they get a hole in one. All right, time to draw, right? Now, grab yourselves a pencil, a pen, a marker, a crayon, or a nice rod that you have taken out of your old grandpa's garage, his fishing rod. You just break it in half, I'm sure he won't mind, and you dip it in some ketchup and draw all over the driveway. You can do that if you like. I'm not responsible. Now, to do these drawings, you do have to be able to do 3 simple things: a straight line, a zigzag, or a curvilinear line. Now that is a reverse S curve. Could look like that, could look like that, could be like that. Curvilinear lines are very curvy, and they're lovely to look at, aren't they? Now today's drawing has a combination of straight lines, a few little curvilinear lines, and I would say no zigzags that I can think of, but we'll see as we go. So grab that thing that you want to draw with, and let's get started with the You Draw It. Quick hello to those folks who are watching over on be.net/live for the live chat. Hi RB, what's up? And Sam, I see you. And Annika is here, and Sandos, and Ruth, and Uriel, and Steven. And I said hi to Sam, didn't I? I'm repeating myself. And Tetchy is here as well. How's it going? All right, folks. Let me know where you're watching from, too. It's always fun to see where in the world people are when they're watching the Draw Along show. Let's get started. Today's drawing is going to start with a letter X. This X is going to be wider than it is tall. So check it out. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this. Okay. And that's going to kick off our drawing. Yeah, you want to make it pretty symmetrical if you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing in this show has to be perfect, so don't you worry about that. But that's how we're going to start things off. Now, at the top of the X, we're just going to draw a line that moves a little bit farther out on both the right and left side from those first 2 lines that we drew up there. All right. And down here at the bottom of the X, where we have these 2 pieces, we are going to draw lines that come down, 1 and 2. Now, you might ask yourself how long those lines are, and I'd say they're maybe about the same length as from here to here, maybe a touch longer, something along those lines. If you make them a little longer, if you make them a little shorter, it doesn't matter. Now we want to take those lines and we want to actually extend them up a little ways, okay? So check this out. I'm going to draw up to about there and up to about there. Alrighty. Notice how I've left some space. I'm going to leave some space up there. Now from here, all right, we want to come down, but we're going to do it at a slight angle. Watch this. I'm not going to come straight down. I'm going to angle slightly out like this. Same on this side, okay? Want to make these pretty symmetrical. See how it's not a perfectly right angle, but it's also not a really extreme angle either, right? And then here I'm going to do one of those little C curves like this. I'm going to curve in this way, okay? And then same on this side, right? We'll curve like that. Any guesses as to what we're drawing? It's always fun to see if anybody can figure this out really early in the game. Now here, I want you to look at the middle of your drawing so far, okay? And I'm going to look at the middle. I'm going to pop over just slightly this way, not quite as far as these X lines that we drew at the beginning, okay? So maybe about here. I'm just going to draw a line up like that and another one over on this side, okay? There we go. Make those a little longer, a little longer. And right here, I'm going to draw a slightly curvilinear line. See that? Very slight curve. Very slight curve. Okay, I'm making these just a hair longer. That feels about right. I wonder what it is. Any guesses? Let's see. A diver, says Ruth. And Stephen guessed a jockey. It's an interesting guess. It's an interesting guess. Hey, Laura's here. What's up, Laura? Nice to see you. Hope to see you in person again soon. Haven't seen Laura in person in over a year and a half. Maybe even longer. We are now going to pretend. All right, I'm going to make this slightly longer here. We're going to pretend that we are drawing a curvilinear line that comes down and connects to here. Only I'm not going to draw the whole line. I'm only going to draw part of it. So watch. I'm going to come down, and then right about here I'll start drawing that line, and then I'll stop again. So I'm imagining that I'm connecting these two with a nice C curve, right? Only I'm not drawing all of it. Interesting, huh? We don't often do that, do we? We don't often have lines that are not connected to the most recent line we drew or some other line that we've drawn. So that's something a little new for all of you. But we like to try new things, don't we? Now up here, we're going to draw another curvilinear line, and this is again a shallow curve, and it's going to start not quite as far out as this line, okay, slightly inside, and it's going to just kiss those two lines, 1 and 2, just like that. Okay. Hey, let's see. A royal guard, says Annika. Interesting guess. Interesting guess. Well, none of you have it right so far, but I like the guesses. Alrighty. Now, we have this shallow curve, and I'm going to do a similar curve facing in the other direction. Watch, like that. Okay. And then on the sides, I'm going to drop down slightly, 1 and 2. Little straight lines, popping down like that. And I'm just going to connect those two, like so. Okay. And then from here, we're going to draw a line straight down from the center of the drawing, okay? Like this. Pause. We're going to interrupt it with a little C curve. Now this C curve is a little tighter, okay? It's not going to be so shallow. Watch. It's kind of like an upside down U. Up we go and over. See that? up and over. And we're going to follow that down a ways on both sides. And then we're just going to chop it off like that. Got it? Okay, now maybe this picture is coming together. Imagine this line is passing through or behind this shape and it just comes out the other side. How far are we going to draw it? Watch. About like that. I would say that line is very close to the same length as this line. It's always good to use comparative measuring with your drawings, right? Okay. Now, we have to make two horizontal lines. Again, these are going to be disconnected. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to go from about halfway down the length of this line that we drew here. Pop out to the left a little ways and draw a little line like that. That's step one. Then I want you to come about halfway, okay, up between the top and bottom of this shape. Come out this way, okay? And I want you to draw another line like so, okay? There. RB says unicycle rider, horse rider, cowboy, diner at a bar. That was a good guess right there. But now I think it's probably coming together. We're figuring this out, right? Now from up here, I'm going to draw a curvilinear line. It's going to stop right here. It's going to be a shallow curve. Check it out. I'm going to leave a little bit of space. Okay, I'm not going to start right where this ends. I'm going to come just up above it, just slightly. A little bit of a curve and stop right there. And then I'm just going to come down and around. Around, down, and around again. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to come around like this. Around and like that. Aha! Figuring it out, aren't we, folks? And then here, I'm going to come up and connect to here. Up and connect. Curve. Curve. See that? C curve, C curve. Aha. Now what about this side? Same idea, only the curve is going to be different this time. It's going to come out, and then it's going to carry down like this. Check it out. Out we go, and then down. Okay. And then here, I'm just going to do this. Whoop. See that? And then here, I'm going to come up, okay? And this is where we're going to get this line to extend a little ways, okay? I'm going to come out like this, make a little line, and then we're going to come down like that. And here we do another one, whoops, a little higher up. There we go, 1 and 2. Ah, what do we have here? A person on a bike. Person on a bike. All right, now back here, check this out. 1. Okay, see this? 2. And then we just do a little letter V, it's wide, underneath each of those back pockets on these overalls. Alrighty. And then here, underneath this brim of the hat, we're going to do a line, another line, and another line. Okay. And then off to the side, we're just going to do a little line like that, and a little line like that. And that's how you do the ears. We're getting very close, aren't we, folks? Now, just above, okay, I'm going to do a nice upside down U, or a sideways letter C. And here you have your person riding their bike. Now, off to the side here, right at the bend of the elbows, we draw a little line there and a little line there for the handlebars, okay? And now here's a little trick I want to show you for having this person riding away from us. Check this out. We're going to draw a line, okay, here that meets the tire, okay? But then on the left and the right, watch this. I'm going to do a curve and watch how it comes out. Comes out in this direction, okay? Same over here, comes out in this direction. And here, inside of where that change happens, so inside that first line, starting here, we're going to do this. We're just going to do these little shapes that represent some foliage, okay? And then another one here. You can do some more if you like, little ones. By having this line move straight across and then turn, while having some details behind, okay, and here's what you can do. You can add some more little bits like that. And what you've got going on now is the impression that the person is riding in perspective, in 1 point perspective, coming over a little hill perhaps, and that space will continue off into the distance. So that's a little trick you can employ. Now, of course, you can make this your own, do whatever kind of background you want, right? You can always try it with someone wearing a different kind of an outfit or whatever you like, but there's a lot you can do to make that your own. And that is our You Draw It for today. It took us about 4 or 5 minutes longer than usual, but we have an extra long show today, and so that's totally fine. Anyway, let me know how your drawing went. And remember, you can always post these to me on Twitter, @KyleT.Webster. I'd love to see your drawings. It's always fun to look at them and see how they're going. Okay. Now, we just drew somebody who's wearing a hat. And so for today's art tip, I want to talk about that. You'll see here I've drawn this little face and I have a hat as being worn by this individual. And I want to point out the subject is wearing. You want to go ahead and article of clothing or the hat or the shoe or the glove or whatever it is you're drawing. And this is a really useful trick. So for example, if I wanted to draw a person who was wearing mittens, right? And a coat. If I just quickly give myself an idea of the size of the arm of the person, right? Sort of thinking like a mannequin here, okay? A little mannequin of my character. If I do that as a little underdrawing, okay, and I can just use a light colored pencil or whatever, and I can always erase it. If you're working digitally, you could work on separate layers. Now I have that structure in place to drape the clothing or props on top of the figure and get the proportions correct. So I could come in here with a nice puffy jacket. Okay, maybe it's like a puffy winter jacket. Right? And for the mitten, which is something you don't want to just guess size-wise, okay? I can come here and I can make sure that it is going to cover that hand at the right size. A common mistake I see frequently with student work is when they draw things like mittens or shoes, they will make them too small because they're not thinking about the anatomy underneath the article of clothing, right? And so this is a trick you can use to ensure that whatever it is you're drawing is in the right proportion. And that's why I like hats as a good example of this, because hats, oftentimes I'll see a person will draw a face, and then they'll put a hat on it, and the hat will cut off the top of that head, okay, because they're just not thinking about what needs to happen. But we have to understand how to draw that head, and we're going to have some hair under there, whatever, okay? And by doing the rest of the head, even if it's just a very faint line that you give yourself so that you understand the entire size that you're dealing with, right? That's going to help you to then correctly place the hat on the head, right? I want to make sure it's going to fit on that head. And so that's why I do stuff like that. And I think you should too. And that's today's art tip. So think about that next time you're drawing a character. Don't just jump to draw the clothing right away until you've figured out how big to make the shapes underneath. And I think that that will serve you very well. Alrighty, any comments about that? Let's see. Hey, Juan Carlos is here. How you doing? Clever's here. Lots of folks joining in. Nice to see everybody. Oh, and who else is there? Brent. What's up, Brent Barnsdale? Nice to see you. All right, folks. Well, there's your art tip for today. Hope you found that to be something that you will eventually employ in your own drawings. Or maybe you already knew it because you're an art genius. Now, let's hide that for a moment. We'll leave our little biker there for a moment. For those of you who missed the first part of the show, that was our draw along. It's easier than it looks. We're going to move on to the doodles. Now, in the doodle game, you have two doodles, number 1 and number 2. We start with number 1, and then we do number 2. Now with number 1, you look at this shape that I've drawn right here, okay, this doodle. And I want you to quickly tell me, what do you think it could be? All right, this is where you use your imagination. You know, you could look at that shape and say, oh, that reminds me of and think of an animal or an object or a plant or whatever it happens to be. Look at it and tell me what you think you see. And I will look at your suggestions in the chat, and then I will draw whatever you suggest. And when we're done with number 1, we'll move on to number 2. So starting with number 1, go ahead and list for me whatever you think you see. And remember, you can, in your mind, rotate it, right? See if that makes you see something different. Okay? Sometimes if you rotate it, you can see something else. Now, if you're watching the show, you can't rotate it, so you can just turn your head like this. You can just turn your head and see if you see something. All right, let's see. A bunny, a tiger eye, a bishop, a cockroach, Taj Mahal, wacky inflatable man. I see a bunny too. Why don't we draw a bunny? Here, let's see, what's the best way for me to do this? I think I'm going to do it this way. Now, you can play this game with your friends and family. You just go ahead, make a doodle, and then have your pal, whoever you're playing with, quickly draw whatever comes to mind, and then they make a doodle and pass it back to you. And you can just go back and forth with this, and it's a good time. I've done this with the kids, done it with friends, art pals of mine, but it is fun. And there is a bunny. Good one. All right, we are going to move on to number 2, and here is what it looks like. And I can rotate it, see if you come up with any ideas, just looking at it like that. And let's see where that goes. What is number 2? Number 1 became a bunny, right? That one was pretty easy there, pretty fun. What is number 2? All right, let's see. A hand catching a baseball. That's an interesting one, Ruth. I think I kind of see that. A yawning moose. Yawning moose. Yawning moose. Yawning moose. A water jet. A soldier holding a sword. Soldier holding a sword. That could work as well. Like that. All right. I'm going to try this hand catching a baseball. And let's see how that goes. I'm going to move it this way. All right. I'm going to have this person leaping for the ball. Trying to kind of get some foreshortening in there. There we go. That kind of works. I don't know. What do you think, folks? Steven had a funny suggestion. A tool that comes with flat pack furniture that you can never find when you need to take it apart to move house. I know exactly what tool you're talking about. Nice. Alrighty. There you go. Well, that worked out pretty nicely, I think. Well, there you go. That is the Doodle game. And we're going to now move on to our art vocab for today. And for art vocab, we are going to, whoops, I'm sorry. There's the alarm. Oh my goodness. Folks, you know, I know it's an extra long show. I almost forgot. This is important. We have to do Appreciation Station, of course. And for today, we are appreciating Annika. Annika, we are appreciating you today. Now, Annika, do you remember that time when we were at the Grammy Awards and we won an award for Best Duet Pop Single? And of course, we went up on stage to accept our award. And the audience was chanting, and they really wanted us to sing a few bars of the song. Now, I had a terrible, terrible sore throat, one of the worst of my whole life, and I just couldn't bear the thought of singing. Fortunately, you had been studying the polyphonic overtone singing technique, and you were able to actually sing both of our parts by yourself. Incredible, amazing. What a skill. Now, of course, the audience was blown away. They expected us to sing together, but you sang both parts. You made us both look good by doing that and, you know, doing what the audience wanted, okay, which is always important, make the crowd happy. But the other cool thing that happened was you got another album deal out of that, a single album. And boy, you really nailed it on that one too. So I want to thank you for getting up there and improvising with that amazing technique you were working on, making us look good. And then getting a cool solo album deal out of it for yourself. And anyway, hope you keep that Grammy somewhere nice. I've got mine over in the living room up on the mantle. It's a little rusty looking, but you know, still very proud of it. Thank you, Annika. We appreciate you today. And it is now time for us to move on to art vocab. All right, let us do that. Now, today's art vocab word is futurism. What is futurism? What on earth? Yeah, let's take a look at this. So, futurism. Now, futurism started with a manifesto. What is a manifesto? It's a thing that you write that is declaring your sort of view on something, and you want to start a movement. You want to get people behind this new idea that you have about how things should be. Okay. And it was the Italian poet Filippo Tommaso Marinetti who published this in Figaro, which is a Paris newspaper at the beginning of the 20th century. He published this. And basically, like a lot of art movements, futurism was rejecting the past and wanting to embrace something new and exciting and different that had nothing to do with things that had come before it. Now, you see this time and time again in movements in art history, don't you? Where people reject something that had been done. They say, no, we're going to do it completely differently. That old stuff is boring. That old stuff doesn't work for us anymore. That doesn't represent who we are. We're going to do something different. Futurism was all about celebrating technology and the Industrial Revolution and the new ideas and the new ways things were looking, the new machines people were making, such as automobiles and things like that. And you will see represented in the works that I'll show you here that there is a geometry to it that in many ways feels like things that are man-made, right? Buildings, skyscrapers, newer machines, and new technology, and so on. And that was kind of what was behind this movement. And it says here that futurist painting used elements of Neo-Impressionism and Cubism to express the ideas of dynamism, the energy and movement of modern life. The three artists I'm going to show you are here: Giacomo Balla, Umberto Boccioni, and Gino Severini. By the way, we have a quote here on the left from Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, who said, "We declare a new beauty, the beauty of speed. A racing motor is more beautiful than the victory of Samothrace," which is a famous Greek sculpture in the Louvre. Important to note that this was a short-lived movement because World War I was just around the corner. And after the devastation that a lot of the new technology caused in that war, when I talk about, you know, tanks and other war machines and new weapons and so on, futurism just did not feel maybe like the best sort of movement to embrace. And so things moved on. But it was briefly there as a movement. And let's take a look at some of the works we have here. This is Giacomo Balla right here. And you can see that it does have a very sort of Jetsons look to it, if you will. You know, I think that some of the mid-century modern furniture design and the aesthetic that we sometimes look on as being sort of the dominant look part of the 60s, or rather the mid-50s through early 60s, I suppose, did come out of some of this futurist work in some ways. Let's take a look at some more of it here. So this is Balla. Here we have one from Severini. This one's called Dancer. So it's not that they shied away from figurative subject matter, it's just that the treatment of it, and you can see here also this has a bit of a cubist look to it, doesn't it? But they were, you know, happy to work a little bit with the human form, but they definitely wanted to abstract it in such a way that it was hardly recognizable in the end, which you can kind of make out a figure here, right? And then we're going to move on to Boccioni, this one being a sculpture. And I always think of these sculptural pieces as being more easily identified as the futurist stuff. So this one, Umberto Boccioni, Unique Forms of Continuity in Space. Interesting title. But you can just see here, again, this is figurative, but there's almost a sort of, I don't have to say machine-like quality, but there's the idea that this is a machined structure, or form, rather, machined form. The way that every piece of it is considered with these certain flowing shapes that are then interrupted by more angular sort of shape. Very interesting. There's also a lot of strength in this, and I think that was a theme that you could see in the work. Was it was kind of brutal, and it did represent sort of the human's ability to build and shape large and powerful things. So there you go. That is futurism. Let me know, do you like this kind of art? Do you think this was an interesting movement in art history? What do you find appealing about some of these? You know, you can look it up and find more examples of this work. But as I said, this was a short-lived movement. So there you go. Alrighty. Now it is time for the old animal and activity game. Today I thought we'd try and do 2 of them since we do have a little extra time. And what I'd like you to do, please, in the chat is suggest for me an animal doing something funny, something strange, something unexpected, something weird. As an example, last week or the week before, I can't remember, we did a Tyrannosaurus Rex crocheting. That was a fun one. And just yesterday, we did a disco dancing otter. Okay? So you see, it could really be anything. And I leave it to you to come up with something original. Bring our little bicyclist back here. I'll use this space over on the left to draw. And I'm going to grab my nice light blue color so I can sketch whatever idea you come up with. Yep, there it is. Alrighty. Futurism is interesting and looks old now. That's true, clever. I like that. Hey Al, how's it going? You're calling in from Perth. Awesome. I went there when I was 11 years old. That was a while ago. We have some suggestions coming on in. We have a raccoon building a snow house. We have a crab tending a watermelon in its garden. A crab tending a watermelon. Huh. A dachshund holding shopping bags. A lion bowling. Hey, I remember that one. Let's do that. We did that came up yesterday as a suggestion, and I thought it was pretty fun. All right, we'll start with that one, and then we'll have time for another one. So why don't you just keep the suggestions coming in, and I'll go ahead and look at them. But let's start with the lion bowling. All right, so here we go. All right, so I'm gonna have my little lion here. And he's gonna have the pose of like he's just released the ball towards us. He's gonna have the other leg out. There we go. And the ball is going to be on its way to landing, okay? I'll make them a little rounder. I find a lot of professional bowlers tend to be a little rounder in the bod, right? A little more dad bod, you might say. All right, there is our sketch. Now, we'll knock that back. And we will draw with our darker blue. And let's get that mane. Shaggy old mane there. Actually, I think this side should be a little closer to the shape that I drew on the other. That feels better. And now let's get this hand feeling right. So I get that pinky to kind of curl in a little bit. You know what I mean? This leg comes up and in front of There we go. There. Nice round shape. That other leg out. Behind. And this shoe coming towards us here. You notice I don't stick totally with the sketch, right? Because sometimes, you know, you realize how to make it better when you're looking at the sketch. Underneath the line drawing you're doing, and it just makes more sense like to change it up. Okay, I think we could do one more. What do you say? I think we could do it. That's one. Just giving him a few whiskers there. Okay, let's get some action there. And we'll hide that sketch. Okay, there is one for you. Let's check out the chat and see what else we can do. So there's our bowling lion. That was fun. Okay, let's see. A shoebill stork painting its nest. I don't know what a shoebill stork is. An elephant skating, says Monica. A manta ray delivering a picnic basket to a seal. Holy cow, that's tough. A cat predicting the future with a crystal ball. A cat playing chess with a figure in a hooded robe, like death. Steven, what's going on? That's scary. Platypus playing soccer. Armadillo hang gliding. Lion is picking up despair and throwing down. Mercurial says it looks pawsome. I love the puns. All right, so I'm looking through these, and I think tough. Cliff diving cat. I know that one just came in at the last second, RB, but I just really like that, so I'll give that a try. So back to sketching. Here we go. Cliff diving cat. Cliff diving cat. Let's see. So I think. This is going to be sort of how we do it, like this kind of a pose. I want to get that hand a little bit sort of tighter. Go a little rounder that way. And all right, let's try that. I've got about 3 minutes left. Can I do it? I don't know. Let's just try. Whoops. All right, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Hopefully, the sketch will have left me off in a place where this will work. All we can do is try. I like those old-timey, like, full body kind of, or those bathing suits that men used to wear that had sort of the tops, the bathing tops, you know? Something about cliff diving, I don't know why, it makes me think of time gone by, and I guess people still do it, of course, but something about it just feels like old school to me. Okay, so then we have our little claws. Beep, 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 beep. Just barely see that ear sticking up there. And there is the cliff. Ah, okay. Hey, it worked out, right? We did it. Thanks for joining me for an extra long episode. Everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Remember, please, to be kind, and I will say ciao for now.